Hey everyone, welcome to week 2. We made it. This is day 1 of week 2. This week's theme is going to be where we store things, where things are stored. So we're going to speak about place. We had spoken last week about how we reflect on each other by the most, obvious way, which is painting other people. But today we're going to start thinking about our sense of place, the things we use, and how those very objects we interact with or we walk by and are moved by, or we just happen to collect, how those things can also speak about ourselves, about our everyday lives. And we're going to sort of change our gaze onto place, onto spaces. And hopefully that's going to be a big enough change that we can start painting something that feels very, very different. And we can start, in a way, investigating our own lives, not just looking at somebody else, painting somebody else, but if we switch our gaze and look inward and look at our lives and look how the places we have occupied in our lives have adapted to who we are, or how we've manipulated those places so that we can accommodate ourselves. That's also going to be a reflection of us. So in a way, I think during these 2 years we're going to do portraits. We're going to do reflections of who we are. But the subject matter of our painting and the way we interpret that subject matter is always going to be a little bit different. So that's it. Where we store things. Let's get ready for week 2. Okay, here we go. This particular, still life, if you want to call it that, or this particular space, was one that I occupied for the last, 12 years. I was a teacher at a fine art faculty here in a really big university in Bogota for the last 12 years. And there I taught life drawing. I started out, I remember, even before Samu was born, I started out with a drawing class, but it was a very kind of artsy drawing class. It was the sort of drawing class where you have to redefine, like re-signify drawing, and I remember I was terrible at it. I think I understood what the concept of the class was, what the intent of the class was. And I think I made exercises that were coherent with what the class actually wanted and what the faculty was expecting of me. But I had done some, workshops before, but nothing really that would give me the experience that I needed to actually take on 20 people in a single classroom, 20, 18, 19, 20-year-olds in a single classroom. And it was terrible. I think I did 2 semesters of that class. They had to be like very specific projects. But I honestly, I don't think I was good at it. I think it was my inexperience. I think it was my age, because I started out, somewhat young to be a teacher at a college level. And I remember after the second semester, the director, she was really, really kind to me, and she gave me every opportunity in the world. I remember she called me up and she was like, "Yeah, you're not really, teaching this class. We're gonna put you in figure drawing class." And I was like, "Oh, thank God," because that's what I loved. I remember at SVA, which is where I studied. Poof, I would take, I don't know how many drawing classes, and I would sit in many, many more, but it was the core of my education, drawing. It was that one thing that I enjoyed the absolute most. And almost all of our drawing classes were from life. That's how I educated, myself. The philosophy in the illustration department at that moment was, yes, you are an artist that is going to try and communicate a message through your image, but the core of your foundation is going to come from looking at nature. So I painted, 6 hours from life with Max Ginsberg, 6 hours with David Soman, and 6 hours with Steve Assel, and countless of 3-hour life drawing classes. I think best teacher I had was Sam Martin. He was a 60s illustrator, and John Ruggieri was, and still is, probably the most fascinating character and the most talented draftsman I think I've ever encountered in my life. I don't think I'll ever meet somebody like him. He was just, I think he gave himself to drawing. He committed to drawing, like his life to drawing. He understood his life through drawing and just moved by every second of a drawing. I especially remember one class where I was drawing with him, and we had this model, and this guy was like a guy from like the street. He was, John specifically didn't like models that were your typical art model. I mean, they're fascinating, they're excellent models that are dancers or models. They're absolutely incredible. But John wanted regular people, just absolutely regular people off the street that had never modeled before. It doesn't matter. It's just bring your raw energy. And I remember me drawing, and I thought I was doing well. I thought I had I was getting his likeness. I was really, really connecting with this model. It was a fantastic model. And John came by, and he was like, "Those are nice drawings, but they don't have his energy. Like they're not communicating his energy." And I was, "What do you mean?" To me, that was so intangible. If somebody came up, because all I understood was your proportions are off. You have to measure, see the shoulder is dropping too low, or you're not understanding where your hips are. Let me try to show you kind of like the bone structure. Those sort of things I could understand. Those sort of things are objective, and they're quantifiable, and they're the easiest way to learn drawing. But suddenly when you hear somebody says, that's not the energy the model is projecting, you're like, what? Where does that lie on? Like, how do I tap into that? And he sat down, because John was incredible, and he always sat down with you. When he was trying to speak and tell you what to do, it's almost like his hands were itching to just draw, and he just wanted to sit down and show you through drawing and speak through drawing, which is incredible, I feel. And he started drawing, and he told me he feels like an animal. He feels like this feral beast that just, happens to be in a stand, but it's almost like uncontained energy. And he started doing these drawings, and I was like, my God, that's exactly, how I understood. That's exactly how that model felt. And I was seeing it through his eyes. And it was amazing. I mean, it's one of those experiences that I think teachers don't realize this. And I almost always speak about teachers like my teachers. I don't know if I see myself as a teacher, because I think I'm way too below, like far from my teachers. I don't know if I'll ever have the impact that they had on me on somebody else. But John probably doesn't even remember that moment, and but for me, it just stuck with me forever. I mean, I'm sure I'm remembering this right now and getting like super excited just remembering that moment. But for him, it was probably just, I'm going to sit with one of my students and just convey this message. I remember that when I started teaching, and specifically when I had the opportunity to at the faculty to finally teach life drawing, I, I always told myself I have to have that energy. I can't be the person that is bored by the human being that's up there in the stand. I can't be. If I'm going to teach painting, if I'm going to teach drawing, I have to be that person that is moved the most in the room, that is the most excited, that is the most given to drawing or painting. Just absolutely committed, because I have to lead by example. I have to show them that this is the thing that moves me the most, the thing that excites me the most, the thing that makes my mind just go nuts, and all my all my neurons just light up, is this. Like, this is it. This is the thing that brings me happiness. And I think I did that. I mean, maybe maybe not for that first year where it was terrible, but I think that for the next 11 years, I think I tried to do my best. And the reason I'm telling this whole story is because this was in our, and I still speak about our, like, I belonged to that faculty because I really feel that for many years they represented my art family. Even though I'm, SVA alumni, and I actually love my memories at SVA, and I think some of the most talented people I think I'll ever meet, I met at SVA, and I was so lucky to be part of a couple of years where so many good people came out of SVA. So even though that's my school, and I'll always refer to that as my school, and those are my teachers, and I'll forever speak to them not as my not as my fellow painters. No, like Steve, Max, David, Sam, John, they will always be my teachers. I think in my life they occupy a space that's higher than what I do, and I will never be their equal. Like, to me, they made me who I am, as an artist, but also as a person. So that to me is huge. I think that's the impact that a good teacher can have in your life. Always seek out good teachers. They are out there, and if you let them, if you trust them, they can change your life entirely. So even though that's my school, I always felt our faculty where I worked as something that belonged to me, that I was really part of. And this is one of the corners of the faculty. I loved all of my students. I still remember them by name. All the students that I had for 12 years. And this is how they store stuff. I actually love that when you're an art student, there is this there is this balance that you're seeking, where you are trying to care about the things that you do. All the artwork that you produce, be it drawings, etchings, paintings, installations, whatever you're doing. You are trying to respect that, and you are trying to commit yourself to homeworks and exercises, even if it's like a half-hour drawing in a drawing class, or if it's like a 2-week assignment, or if it's like a monthly thing. You want to totally put your heart and soul into it, but also in the end, you kind of understand that this is a very ephemeral thing. This is a momentary thing. This is a semester, and it passes. And sometimes the value of what you're doing does not rely upon the object itself. And I'm only saying this because in that cardboard box, I'm sure that roll of paper was maybe an expensive piece of paper, maybe not. It doesn't matter. Maybe it had a great drawing. Maybe it had a really crappy drawing. It doesn't matter. But it was treated not with disdain, but and not that there was a disconnection between the people that were constantly making these pieces of art, but it was just let go. And I think that that sense of detachment when you're in school is wonderful, is absolutely wonderful. I I don't think that teaching people that what they're doing is precious is a quality that should belong in an art school. If anything, it's just about letting go and trying things out and try and evaluate and learn from it. Evaluate, learn from it. Try to understand where you failed, where you can gain valuable lessons from it. But let go, constantly let go. And this was this tiny space in a corner in our sixth floor where we had painting and drawing studios, and there was this just makeshift, crappy cardboard box with just tape and a bunch of like drawing paper, whatever was put in there, and I loved it. I loved it. I'm so drawn towards these little moments that have history in themselves, that I feel that even though it's not my box, it's not my roll of paper, it's not my drawing, it doesn't speak about my studio, my space, it is a space that I walk through, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of times maybe. And it is a space I can recognize. If I see that, I would go immediately, oh yeah, that's totally a corner of our studios up there in our art faculty. But the funny thing is I'm sure that it looks like every art faculty. Well, not every single art faculty, but it does have this universal quality of just this object that had a history and had a reason for being, then kind of left behind, not forgotten. And I don't think my painting's aim is to make this object to not be forgotten. I just think I'm stopping. I love that this is happening. That I am watching myself paint, and I'm remembering not only while I was painting this particular painting what I was feeling, but I'm also just reminiscing about where I found this and the history of it, and it makes me think about my history as a teacher, and it makes me think about my teachers. So, a, an inconsequential piece of cardboard housing this tube, this roll of this tubed up paper, reminds me of everything in my life. I don't want to seem hyperbolic, but it is. It's an opportunity to remember, everything that has brought you to this point. And I love that. I love that I can take a picture. A lot of people ask me, "Oh, show me a reference. What pictures?" This is just a cell phone pic. Every time I'm painting these paintings, these paintings for this channel, the Our Painted Lives channel, they're all on my cell phone. I don't need like a huge board with a ton of printed out references. I don't. Not just a cell phone, just a pic to remind me of what I was looking at, and the rest is just painting. And a lot of people are, I think, way too attached about the idea of reference, and I totally understand. It's like, well, let me see what you were looking at, and let me try to compare it and gauge that. Yeah, but a painting doesn't. A painting lives on its own merit. And what I mean by that is that when you go to a show and when you go to a museum, you don't yearn for knowing what the sitter actually looked like. And I don't like to phrase it like that, but when you go to the Met and you see Juan de Pareja, Velázquez, one of the most amazing portraits in art history, I never feel like, oh, I wish I could have seen a picture of this guy just to see what he did when interpreting, him as a painting. No, I just look at the painting and understand that it lives as a painting. It doesn't live as a painting in the sense that it has to obey uh, certain rules that were dictated by a photo. No, it doesn't matter. And I understand that from an academic point, you kind of want to, there's a sense of curiosity about, oh, how did you translate that into that? Honestly, those things may be important, but they're not important in the sense that where I'm painting something and my aim is for you guys to copy what I'm doing. I don't know how you would copy what I'm doing. What I'm proposing to you guys is that you find these corners and these spaces in your life, and they don't have to be relevant. It could be a little corner, where just a wall meets another wall, and there's dust on the floor, and you go like, oh, that corner always gives me problem when I'm cleaning up my house. If you ever clean up your house, if you're like Danny and me, we don't. But and you remind yourself, oh, look at that little cobweb that's in the corner. I want to see if I can paint that because I know that cobweb. It bothers me. It stares at me because I can never get my vacuum cleaner there. I'm just too lazy to bend down and just wipe it off. I don't know. Just tell me your story. Tell me something about that little corner of your life that can be so boring to other people, but to you reminds you about everything. It could remind you about how your mother always told you to clean up, and then you start thinking about your family, and you start thinking about when you were a kid. I don't know. I don't know what it would spark, but that's the whole point of doing this, that we can tell these stories to ourselves. And yes, share them. And if you want to share them with other people, that's fascinating. But before sharing them, and before this need, for example, this very Instagram need to just share something and hopefully connect with people, do it for yourself. If your aim is just to share it, to just kind of tell this exciting story about your life, and hopefully people give you likes and then you feel good about sharing it, that's so superficial, that's so vain, that doesn't matter. Those things don't matter. Trust me, none of that matters. Who cares? Instagram could die today, and I would still paint every single day of my life. I painted before Instagram, I'll paint after Instagram. It doesn't matter. But you have to teach yourself how to do it for yourself first. The object of all of this is for you to connect with yourself, to trust yourself, to get to know yourself better, to question yourself, because sometimes we think we know tons of things about ourselves, but we don't really, or we don't accept them, or we're ashamed of them. So all of these exercises, the intent behind doing, this huge effort that both Danny and I are going through, because this is consuming like every single minute of our days. We didn't realize it, but this is our life now. It's meant to connect us. That's all it's meant to do. It's not meant to. I don't care about making pretty paintings. I don't care about making sales. I don't care. I mean, well, we have to live off of something, but that can't be what I'm thinking about while I'm painting. If I think about, oh, I need to sell this painting while I'm painting, I'm done. Like, the exercise is gone. It's not worth it anymore. And the nature of what we're trying to do is lost. And you guys are going to sense it. And that is so not what I'm trying to do. And trust me, I am not going to betray that, because there's no point in doing this then. So forget about my reference pic. Forget about it being a great photo, it being super important to understand or gauge the painting properly. I think the paintings that I'm doing are just to tell you guys, come, like, okay, let's go. Now it's your turn. And now it's your turn. Yes, show me. And with Danny, we're hoping we could do like a hashtag. So if people want to work with us, they can totally do so, and they can share their paintings, and we'll see if in the future we can showcase some of those paintings. That's super cool. But for now, I don't want that to be like the prize. It's like, oh, if I paint, then maybe my painting will show up in his feed. Who cares? That's so not important. Do it for yourself. Do it and feel proud of it, even before you have to share it with anyone, or you want to share it with anyone. Just do it because you really feel the need to do it. Teach yourself that. Teach yourself to respond to that need to say something, to do something, but not to say something to other people. And this is not selfish at all. I know this sounds a little strange because it, the nature of it seems like, oh, you're just doing this for yourself. Like, that's it. Just, stay in your room, paint forever, don't go out, don't talk to people. No, the ultimate purpose of this is that you are a better person. You come out a better person just by doing this, giving yourself into 4 hours of self-reflection. That's what I'm doing like almost every day. It can be 4 hours of just complete commitment to a single painting where I'm just really trying to connect with what I'm doing. And it may not sound as much, but it's an incredible exercise. Like, you're exhausted by the end. If you do it right, you are so, so tired. I'm sure the people that do 3 hour, 4 hour, 6 hour life painting sessions, when you're doing it right, yes, you're physically tired, but you are emotionally tired. Your mind is tired. When you don't care, an hour can go by and you can be bored to death and you just don't know what to do and you just didn't connect and you don't want to be there and it just seems like an eternity. Doing something right is just, it makes such a big difference. And by right, I don't mean to say your drawing is off or your values are off. I know tons of paintings that are incredible, tons of artists that have lived their whole lives just painting paintings where the drawings are off, where the values are kind of weird, where the colors don't kind of create harmonies. It doesn't matter. That's trust me, if there was one way of making great art would be so boring. I think we would be done with art by now, and it wouldn't have lasted the millennia, centuries that it has lasted, and that it will last. Because I think that this, when done appropriately, it is an accompaniment for our species. I think this is something that we do naturally, and that we will do. I don't know how long our species is going to be on this planet for, but I think for however long and however messed up our world is going to be, or however amazing it can turn out to be if we decide to clean it up, art will always be there. It will always, always be there. And specifically, just our desire to look and be moved by nature, it will always be there. And this to me was just I always speak about it in these terms. It's an excuse. It's just an excuse to look at my life and evaluate my life. And even if evaluating, I don't know if people there are judging that, oh no, you're painting from cell phone, it's a photo. I painted from life for years. Every single workshop I do, we paint from life. Everything I exalt in painting comes from the experiences where you work from life. But I'm totally fine working from a photo. That's so not even an issue. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where your excitement comes from. And it could be a tiny picture. It could be a huge retina display, 5K, where you have access to all these range of hues, and or again, it could be just this little bent picture that you keep in your wallet. It doesn't matter. It honestly, it really, really doesn't matter. And what I'm trying to get across also is that you can examine your memories, your experiences through your computer, your drive where you keep your pictures, your cloud where you keep your pictures. You can just go through your room with your cell phone and just take selfies or pictures. I don't care. Or you can live in the internet and just take stuff from there, and that's totally fine. My place is not to judge, because a lot of times we are very judgy, and especially people that paint from life, and I would consider myself one of those people. We tend to be very judgy, and we go like, well, if you weren't in the Grand Canyon, you just totally can't experience what nature really feels like. And you're almost like obligated to just go outside and have these experiences, but not only go outside, but just you're almost like tempted to say, well, my neighborhood is boring. I have to actually go to like these lush forests and this amazing waterfall, and where the buildings are a little more exciting. And I don't like to think that way, because I think what that teaches us many times is that our life is not enough, and we have to seek things outwards where if you don't have this postcard almost right in front of you in nature, then it's not worth painting. Then we rely upon, like, we are what we paint, and we rely upon the excitement of what we're looking at to make an exciting painting. I don't believe in that. I have never believed in that. I think that the most precious quality that an artist can have is to say, where you found boredom, where you found no qualities, I am going to understand the universe. I am going to see everything in there, the nature of all things in that where you found just nothingness. And I love that. I love saying, if you locked me up in this room, and by this room I mean any room, any room I could ever imagine, there is a lifetime of painting in that room, if I choose to see it, if I choose to believe that. And that's my whole point doing these things, that your life can come from anywhere. Your friends can be your friends that are in your neighborhood or in your school, or your lifelong friends, or they can be friends you've made in the internet, and you paint them and they send you pictures and you send pictures back. And those are friendships too. Those are tangible people too. And yes, you are painting those people. Yes, you are painting those experiences, but you are painting those experiences um, in reflection of what your life, or of how your life has shaped you. So they speak as much about them as they do about you. And that's something that is worth remembering, that you are in everything that you paint. Every single thing that you paint, it's a moment to also make a reflection, yes, about your subject matter, obviously, but about yourself. And never, ever, ever renounce to that opportunity, because then painting becomes worthless. Then painting becomes about that waterfall or that postcard, and suddenly it becomes about me trying to make a nice painting and a painting that I can sell. Trust me, none of that matters. And if you let go, you're going to start making paintings that are amazing and that eventually actually sell. And you're like, holy crap, I actually painted this for myself, and I actually love it, and somebody loves it too, and they connected with it. That's amazing. That's what we're doing here. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.